Alrighty. So, welcome to Canvas Basics. Very up tempo, but we're gonna slow things way down from that sort of beats per minute, because this is a Canvas Basics course, so we're gonna treat it as such. All right, so here we go. Let's get right into it. So the first thing you're gonna want to do to get into Canvas, because if you're a teacher, your courses are actually already set up for you, except for the fact that there's no content in them. Let me take a step back on that. That your courses are created and your kids are already actually rostered into them. They won't see them on their end until you publish them, which we'll get into in a second. But if you'd like to navigate to leusd.instructure.com, then that's how you're going to log into Canvas. When you go to that website, it's going to automatically shift you over to logging in with Office 365. If you log in there, then you're going to see a whole list of your classes that were in IC or are still in IC with your kids in there. So I'll give you guys a couple seconds for that. We'll be using the chat because this is going to be a fairly large group today. If you have questions, you can choose the three dots, choose chat, and I'll be pausing a couple every so often to answer those as I see the more troubling parts that need maybe a little bit more finesse. Very good. All right. So once we log in, we're going to have our entire list of courses here. Now, the way that Canvas is organized is they've got what they call the left-hand navigation, and why that's confusing to me anyway. I'm going to go ahead and mute.
How long have you been at this meeting?
A long time.
Oh.
All right.
Either.
All right. So what we've got on the left-hand navigation here is our Canvas navigation. But what makes it a little confusing to call that the left-hand navigation is that if I go into an actual course, then I have navigation on the left hand too. So I usually call this the left-hand navigation, and then this is called the course navigation. Some sort of real quick basic walkthrough of the Canvas navigation or left-hand navigation is this where you can change your profile. If you wanted to add a new picture, you can do that by just clicking the pencil. That's not really too important. You guys want to have admin, that's fine. That's on me. The dashboard is the most important thing probably on the left-hand navigation. The dashboard is where all of the courses that you want to see on like a quick access basis are going to show up. If you're logged in and you're looking at your dashboard right now and saying like, this is like from 2 years ago, like what the heck, I don't need this stuff, then I'm going to show you how you can change your dashboard as well. If you have different courses that you want to organize, like I'm a teacher of over 80 courses now, I think, because we use this for PD and for trainings and just making sample courses to show teachers. You can actually drag and drop these around as well. So like, let's say I really want to focus today, I want to work with our LUSD teachers in biology, then I can just drag these tiles around, and your students can do the same thing as well. Remember that for your students, they're only going to see any published courses, and we're gonna get into that once we get into course sort of setup and things like that. We're also gonna talk about how to set up these little tiles so it can see if you wanna change your picture and whatnot. But really what you're gonna see is any communication, any files. But to get into an actual course, you're going to click the name of the course. Once I do that, I'm going to come into my course, and then I can edit, add different things, and I'm going to create a new course so it looks more like what you guys are going to see. So I'm on my dashboard. Let's say that I see some classes that I don't want to show up here, because this is going to be where you log in literally and see every single time you log in. So if I'm an elementary teacher, for example, I want it to just be the one course that I'm going to use. I don't need like these other things that maybe I set up. So to do that, I'm going to access my course list here. Chari, you can't access it because you're at SLP, so I'll have to create you manually. So this might just be kind of a look and see unless we get a little break in the middle. All right, so if I go to courses, then I'm gonna have a million courses. I might have things from other years and all that. You're still always going to have access to these courses. But if I wanna edit them and kind of make them show up on the dashboard, I'm going to click all courses. Again, this is from courses, all courses. Now, I have these little stars on the side. These aren't your favorite courses. So if you're a secondary English teacher and you really like your first period, you don't have to designate them with a star because those are your favorites. Those are what's actually going to show up on your in your dashboard. So cool stuff is going to show up. Curriculum Writers course, DI Kinder is going to show up. If I'm deselecting those stars, now if you don't have stars, that just means that it's randomly shooting up courses there. So if you want to tell it which ones want to show up, you can see I'm in a lot of different courses. If I am hiding these courses, I'm not deleting anything or unpublishing them or taking the ability for kids to not accessing them. All I'm doing is making it easier for me. You can see I have less courses here, easier for me to use those different to see what's on the dashboard. So if I have things from last year, this is actually really popular for secondary teachers going to courses, all courses again, because they have set up first semester courses and second semester courses as well. And the naming conventions are really, 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 they're really, really close. Like it's, for example, English 9 is 1220 A Ogden or something. Let's say that's the course name, where it's 1221 A Ogden for the other one. So you can see where that could be confusing. So what I usually recommend to secondary teachers as well is come in here. Let's say this is a first semester class, unselect that, select your second semester class, and you're probably not going to use courses too much if you go there the first time and then just designate what you're going to use, right? So that kind of makes sense. If you are teaching like a billion courses or whatever, then yeah, you're gonna have to come into courses a lot. Usually we've got a max of 6, and that's even with the 1-6 assignment. All right. So I've got my dashboard set up here. I chose AAA training course. If I want to make a sort of like play around course, so I have a playground course, a sandbox course, you can also do that in the course tab as well. Keeping in mind that anything that you create in a course, your students won't see until you publish anyway. So, but I'm gonna make a training course because I want it to look exactly what you guys are seeing, especially if you've never used Canvas. It's a little intimidating the first time you go in there. So I'm going to call this tester. You can just click in a course that you already have created, and you most likely have a course created in your course list called Sandbox that I created for everybody so they can go in there. If you don't have a Sandbox, then I just showed you how to create your own anyway. So go to courses, all courses, and click plus course. You can name it anything you want. You can go back and change that at any time if you needed to. But this is basically going to be the view that you see when you first go into a brand new course. And this is where it looks intimidating. But basically, what I usually do to calm teachers down a bit is say, look, we're gonna think about how we want to organize our course. And if you think of how, depending on if you're elementary, if you're middle school, if you're a college teacher, you're going to have some semblance of units or some sort of organization, right? If you have it organized by theme, when I was a kindergarten teacher, we did it by week. You can do it by week. You can make a module called week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, whatever, and then have different content in each one of those. If I'm a secondary teacher, and I'm teaching biology, for example, I might just have a module on evolution, a module on mitosis, a module on cell properties, whatever I'm going to set up, and you can do the same thing as well. And so the one thing that you need to take away from today, besides knowing that it's not published, then your kids can't see it, is that you have to have at least one module. And so to do that from our home screen, I'm going to click plus module. Now, you can make your modules however you want to organize them. So you see I have a whole bunch of different examples that I've used. In some cases, I've got it organized by week, so I can make a week 1 module, and then I can work on another module until I'm ready to go. I can have a genetics module. I can have an introduction to course module. So whatever you want to do for your first module, you just have to have at least one to have a course that kids could see. So I'm going to do an intro module. And then I'm going to put introductory content in here for my parents and students so they have access to that, because they're going to log in, and what the kids will see, if I publish this real quick, I'll go back to this in a second, but what the students are going to see when they first come in is a different view than you. They're not going to have the ability to edit and things like that. So what a student is going to see, give it a second, a lot of things running in the background here. What a student's going to see though is anything that I have published. So as soon as I change this course status from unpublished, which is the default, to published, it's going to show up on the student dashboard. So the next time they log in, they're going to see, you know, Ms. Chase's class or whatever, right? So now I'm in as a student. You can see my profile changed over here. On the very bottom, you see this big pink, or a pinkish purple, more purple, I guess, purple banner. This means that I'm in as a student. So we're used to sort of having to log in sometimes as students to see what they see. In every single Canvas course, you have a student called Test Student that you can always switch to student view to see what it looks like. If I don't have a course published, I'll still be able to kind of see a blank shell of a course. But let's say that the way that I'm organizing my courses is within those modules. I can have multiple modules. Obviously, you're probably going to have multiple modules. But if I don't have that module published, if I were to go in as a student, then it's going to look pretty darn boring. So I don't have anything set up in there. So you have the ability to create those modules, or publish or unpublish your course, and then publish or unpublish the modules. And then where we're going to talk a majority of the time today is we're going to create assignments and quizzes and things like that. You can unpublish or publish those. So one of the things to kind of understand is that there's no save button here, right? As soon as you create content in here and you publish it, the kids have access to it. And so that's a good thing. But it's also making sure that you understand that if you're working on something, let's say I was working on this module, I'm going to keep that unpublished until I'm ready to make it available. And as soon as I do that, I don't have to do anything different. I might want to send an announcement that, hey, I created a new module, blah, 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 blah. But the next time that the students log in, it's just going to magically be there. Or if they're in Canvas at that time and they hit refresh, then it's going to magically appear on their screen. So I'm going to pause for a second so you guys can create a module and answer some questions. How many courses are recommended for elementary students? Christine, I would usually go with just one. So you're going to have a couple different courses. You're going to have an unsat in your dashboard. You're going to have an unsat course. You're going to have a progress course. You're going to have a 1000 elementary course. You're going to have if you're a 5th grade teacher, you're going to have a 55555 course. What I would usually recommend for elementary teachers, because they're going to be in those 4 courses, all 4 of those courses are brought over from your courses that exist in Infinite Campus. Leave 3 of them unpublished and just publish the one that says 55555 5th grade standards, or 44444 4th grade standards. Or if you're a kindergarten teacher, then you can actually just use the 1000 elementary course, because those are always going to have your rosters in there. Daily schedule with enrichment classes. They actually have a daily schedule on the district website. If you don't want to use that one, then that's totally fine. Then we'll talk a little bit about that, Monica, as well. You can create due dates for assignments, and I'll show you how to do that when we start adding content. To switch back to student view, I forgot which class. I'm in tester class today. To switch back to student view, if I'm on my home navigation over here, I'm just going to click student view. If I get stuck in there, I am notorious for forgetting I'm in here, and then I'm trying to add content and I'm like, wait, what the heck is going on? At the very bottom, I have the leave student view button. I'm going to click that. If I want to reset the student, that means that because you can take quizzes, complete assignments, all that, then it also gives you the ability to reset what you've done. So in some cases, You might have your kids organized and you want them to go in a linear fashion, for example. And that's fine that the kids are going to be all over the place, but your test student, as you're testing that environment out, you might need to just hit reset. So usually I use reset student a lot when I go in to take a a quiz or something to kind of see what it looks like from the student's view to make sure it works the way I want it to. And then I can just hit reset student, because this little test student is also going to have grades and things like that. But it helps so you can see, okay, if I submit it like this as a test student, what is that going to look like? So that's a pretty useful feature. How will this work for ed specialists who do not have their own roster? It can work like this. So in first grade, so if I go to my people in a course, remember that I just made this course. So this is a sample course. Christine, you just need to move the Zoom window out of the way if you want to do that. And you can still hear me in the background too, so you'll be able to do that. So if I have people in my course, which I don't right now, I'm the only person in here. If I wanted to add students in, and this is very important to kind of remember, as soon as I add them to a published course, they're going to see that course the next time they logged in. So let's say I'm an ed specialist and I have my 28 kids on my caseload and I know their student numbers, then I can come in here and just separate those. Oh, I think I put 7. Yeah. These are random numbers, by the way. And I'm just separating them by a comma. Then they're automatically going to be added into those courses as well. So they'll get a notification the next time they log into Canvas. It's going to automatically show. I want to make sure that I leave this on student because I could inadvertently change them to a teacher, for example. But it's also important to note that if I have, let's say I see Darren's over there. If I want to collaborate with Darren on the course, I can just add him as a teacher if I were to type in his email address. And then let's say that we have, let's say I'm working with another case manager, then I can actually add in a colleague here. If I were to go to next, then it'll show, oh, I think I typed it wrong. So, but then I would add him and then he would be a teacher of my course, and then we can collaborate, add our kids, all that kind of stuff as well. If you want to see how often they log in, you're on the same page to do that. It's going to show that their last activity is at 9:15 a.m. because I'm in there right now. And then it's going to also show their total activity in that specific course. That's very important to note that as well. So these kids will show up here. I can filter it down if I want to only students if I don't want to see myself, but I can do that as well. So that's how you're going to see that. For elementary teachers, for elementary PE teachers, if you'd like, you can add yourself to the enrichment courses, and then you'd be able to see the content there as well. Or you could create your own courses and add them all in it. So, and that goes with Courtney's question as well. I have a mixture of ages in my class, 5th graders, 7th and 8th graders. So you have elementary and middle school. That is an amazing question, Courtney. It's not gonna matter for them. They're just gonna go into Canvas, and as long as you publish that course, then they're gonna show up. So what we have going on, for example, in our System 44 class, we're gonna have kids from all over the district, not only in 4th grade and 5th grade and 6th grade, but it doesn't have to even be from the same school. It has to be from the same district. So if you're trying to, throw your kid that goes to Temecula Valley into that course, it's not going to work because they have to log in with their Office 365. If you add a teacher to the course, it might show up on their dashboard, Darren. It is going to show up as a pop-up here if you invite a teacher to a course. Depending on how many courses, because I know you're secondary, depending on how many courses they have on their dashboard, it may or may not show up on their dashboard, but no matter what, it's also always going to show up on their master course list here. So let me see what else we got. If the kids are in those classes, do not automatically get notified as I publish. No, they do not. So you can still notify them however you want to notify them. If you want to say, hey guys, go here, click this, do that. If they need that level of support, then you can do that. If they are already in the class and they log in and they just kind of happen to log in, Or let's say that they're already in these enrichment courses that the district set up, or district and district teachers set up, then your course is going to appear alongside that. So we've had a huge response to these enrichment courses. Over 16,000 students have logged in already. So they're logging in to try to get content. Anything that, as soon as you guys hit publish on your course, it's going to appear there as well. So that's one of the benefits. They kind of got a head start with understanding all that kind of stuff. Last question that we've got, and then we're going to get back into the modules. How do we rename? Yes, you see if they've logged in under people, and that's where it'll show up if they've logged in. How do we rename a course that's existing? So if I go into my tester course, and I don't want to make this a tester course anywhere, I want to call this my totally awesome Rockstar course. If I go to settings, I can actually come up here and change the name of the course. If you have something that's pulled over from Infinite Campus, then your course codes and all that you're going to want to keep those the same, because that's how they're linked into Infinite Campus. Not that your rosters are going to change right now, but if you were using this next year, for example, let's say that you create content in these courses, and then next year, you know, Nancy's like, man, this is pretty awesome stuff, I want to use this. She can actually copy that over into next year's courses, and then her kids in 2021 would have access to them as well. All right. So if I want to change the name of that course, I'm going to come to settings, and I can say this, I'm going to call this my Rockstar course. And that's it. As soon as I hit update course details on the bottom, it'll change. But while I'm in here, I'm also going to choose an image for the course, and that's how I get those cool little graphics here. So if I choose the image, I can upload my own image if I want to make something on Adobe Post or whatever. Or if I have a picture, then I can do that. But then also really useful, and I use this way too much, if you come into Unsplash here, which is just the navigation, after I click in the change photo, I can type in, so I said it was going to be Rockstar. If I type in a word, it's going to come up with these words automatically. So if I want to use, that's the picture I want to use, then that's what's going to show up now in that actual course. I can come back and change this or remove the image if I need to, or if I think you want to change something, then I can do that as well. I can really easily do that. And then now what that'll look like, if I go back to my dashboard, it makes it a little bit easier for me to see it if I have it set up that way. So I've got my Rockstar course. Oops, there it is. It's called Tester here. It'll take a second to adjust to the name, but then that'll change over to Rockstar, and it'll show. So now you can see it says Rockstar since I've refreshed, and we're good to go there. It's always going to show up what this little tester is, and you guys probably saw that in there, is going to be what pulled over from the course code as well. So usually you're just going to keep the name. You might want to change that to like second semester biology or whatever helps you or helps your kids. You can also give it a nickname if you were to come in on your dashboard. Excuse me. And click the three dots actually in the dashboard, and you can change. You can give it a different nickname here as well. Or if you really want to change the color, if you're like a hardcore Temescal fan and you need the letters to be blue, then go nuts, guys. You can change that there. And then after I do that with my courses the first time, when I go to move, I can change and move around. I think this is the most wasted space ever, because it's so much easier to just drag and drop those tiles. So, all right. So I'm going to go back into the course. I've got a module created. If I'm using an already existing course, this will probably answer your question, Michelle. If I'm using an already existing course, go ahead and click people and confirm that your kids are in there. And then they're going to see it. They're going to see any content that you publish in that course, as long as you have it published and as long as you have that individual module published. If you want to see what every person in the people menu will see, of course, you can always switch back and forth to student view. And so then you would see, I mean, this is the most boring course ever right now. There's nothing to do, and there's nothing in my first module. So we're going to start adding content. Good deal. All right. So I need at least one module to create a course. And so that's why we started with that. I created a manually created course so that you could see how it looks from the very beginning. if I want to create multiple modules, I just hit the plus module again. And let's say the first thing that we're going to work on is I'm going to organize this just by weeks, right? So week 1, I can add a module. Now, if I want them to go to the introduction first, then I can also come in here to go to edit, and I can make a prerequisite that they have to complete the introduction to the course first. And so that's not, I'd have to set up requirements within the module itself, but then that's going to show up on theirs. Even if I publish this, I got it. If I hit student view, then it's going to tell them sort of that I have prerequisites. Now, right now, I don't have any requirements set for this module, which I'm going to show you guys how to do that as well. But even just visually, if it says that the prerequisite is this, then it's going to tell them to do this first. But I can also sort of make them do that course first. Now, after I have more than one module, I'm going to have these little 8 dots appear, and then I can drag and drop, because one of the best things about Canvas, I think from an organizational standpoint, is if I need to move content around or assignments around, then I can just drag and drop either modules, I can drag and drop assignments and resources and links, and things that I've imported and all that. So it sort of becomes, you're just dragging that into those different modules. All right, so I've got my introduction to the course, I've got week 1. If you're not seeing those 8 dots, sometimes you have to click modules first, which is a total waste of time. But then as soon as you do it once, then you'll be able to do it on the home screen. Now, keep in mind that your home screen is what the kids are going to log on to as well. So when you see all of this stuff on the side, anything that doesn't have a crossed out eye on it means that this would be hidden from student view, for example. But anything that doesn't have that is going to appear for your students. So one of the first things I do after I make my modules is I go to settings, and then I go to navigation, and then it's going to tell me what to do here. Hide and drop items to reorder them in the course navigation. So that means I can move them in different order if I want to do this. However, if I don't want them to get distracted by GradeSync and Office 365, Studios, badges, that's gonna confuse the heck out of my kids. I want to make it as streamlined as possible. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull everything down here. Now, I messed up. I'm gonna leave the syllabus here, and I'll tell you why that. I'm gonna even pull assignments down here. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't have access to the assignments. It just means that they won't have access to see how that's set up. So anything that I'm pulling down here doesn't mean that I don't have access to go in there and get that content. It's just going to show up with the eye crossed off for me. But that's the normal setup that I might have. Now, if I'm going to use assignments or announcements in my course, then I can have announcements here. The order that I have doesn't matter really, but I want them to go to that module view because that's going to be the easiest way for them to see it. So now here's what I've got for my navigation. I'm going to have my home screen that's going to have my modules and my assignments. So it's pretty like right on the nose as soon as the kids log in. I'm going to have any announcements that I might make. I'm going to have my syllabus, even though I'm not going to upload a syllabus. The importance of this is for the syllabus, it's automatically going to consolidate everything that you put on their to-do list in one place automatically. So like, let's say that I make a quiz in Canvas and I want them to do it next Friday. Then if my kids click on that syllabus, I can really quickly just put in like a welcome announcement or a video or something. But then it's also going to automatically give me an overview or give the students actually an overview of how they're doing. If I want to use grades or if I want them to access the grades module, then they can see their grades and how they did on assignments and see any feedback that I provided as well. So this is sort of the normal setup that I have. Because like I said before, they don't need access to any of these things, even if I'm still using them. And so these are just things that are added to the course itself, but they don't need them to use the courses and functionality and quizzes and everything else that we're going to use. So now if I go to the bottom and I hit save, now if I switch over to student view, I have a much more streamlined setup for myself, right? I don't have any announcements, so it's not going to show up yet. But if I were to go to the syllabus, it's going to give me all of my assignments here and what I'm doing. Obviously, there's nothing in here right now. And then it's going to give me a little overview of anything I add. And then if I were to go to grades, because I'm in as test student, it's going to show me all of the assignments that I've done so far. Now, in this example, we got to get some content in here. So let's go ahead and do that. So now I've got my course set up and ready to go. Everything else from this point on is adding cool content. And that's the best thing I think about Canvas, is how easy it is to add that content. And so I have my modules set up, and I'm going to stick with these two. If you want to create 4 modules, 8 modules, 59 modules, it doesn't matter. The modules are just a good way to organize content. So some teachers use it by week. Some teachers do it by content area or subject area, whatever floats your boat, however you want to organize it, right? If I need to change that, let's say I spelled week wrong or whatever, you're gonna get really used to the term ellipsis, or 3 dots, as I call it anyway. If I click those 3 dots, then I also have the ability to edit that. So then I can say, let's say I wanted to spell out week 1, or I just changed my mind and I want to make this ELA resources, then I can add that as well. All right, and so that shows up live as soon as they log into the course next, then that's going to show up automatically for them. All right, if you are like super confused and you need to come back in here, keep in mind that we're recording this session, so we'll post this as well. But then Canvas also has this course setup checklist that you can go through. And what that's going to do is give you a walkthrough of the content. Let me move my little chat feature here. But it's going to go through and show that it's available, but give me a walkthrough after I've done it when I first start. Now I have it published, so it's like, hey, are you sure? Because it looks like you kind of got what you're doing figured out. So I can use that content as well. Let me change something quick. All right. All right, so I've got my modules. Now it's time to create content, and that's where the fun stuff happens. All right. So the way I'm going to create content in my modules, and it has to be within a module, the way I'm going to create content is by clicking the plus sign at the top of whatever module I want to create. Don't worry though, if you create it in that module and it's later, you're like, you know what, that's actually a really good ELA resource. You can do the same way that you can move modules around. You can pull assignments, content, videos, all that kind of stuff from one module to another module. So it's pretty easy to do that. So I've got my first module, Introduction to Course. Now I'm going to go, I'm gonna hit the plus sign, and that's gonna give me options to add to the course. Now by default, the first thing that shows up is the ability to add an assignment, but the most important thing about adding content is there's all of these content types, and we're gonna go through each one today, at least even mention each one, so you can see the differences of them. So an assignment means that you're gonna have something that you want the kids to do. It could be that you upload a worksheet or something and you want them to complete it. Could be that you want them to submit a video response. Could be that you want them to submit a paper or an essay or a test or something like that. So that's an assignment. So that's a graded assignment that's gonna go into the grade feature over on the side. You'll be able to give feedback. They'll be able to give feedback to you however you want. So we're going to go over that in pretty much a lot of detail today. Quizzes, we have a quiz training every Tuesday. So we're not going to get too much into it, but the way quizzes works is that you're going to add quizzes that kids take. They're going to automatically score. They'll go into the grade book. It'll give them feedback. And so that's the quiz feature. You can check that out. We'll kind of briefly touch on it, but it's a quiz generator. There's a full training on Tuesdays if you like to do that. And then also, guys, there's also a micro-credential on the LUSD micro-credential called Growing with Canvas. It's a level 5, so that means $250, and it's set up. It's a self-paced course. There's little quizzes at the end of each module. So you learn how to use Canvas while you're taking a Canvas course as a student. So that's pretty interesting, but it goes through everything that we're going to cover today and a whole bunch more. And the fact is that you can go back and forth between your course and then the Canvas course has proven to be pretty helpful for teachers as well. I can upload a file directly. So I'm going to upload a file and the kids will have access to that file. They'll download it from Canvas. They can do that as well. I don't use that as much as I use Pages, because I usually want, and maybe it's the elementary teacher in me, I usually want to give them a little bit of guidance before they download that file. A page is going to be, pages and assignments are going to be what you probably use the most. Pages are going to be where you add pure content. Maybe it's something from a website. Maybe it's something that you create. Maybe it's something that you copy and paste in. That's where you're going to add a lot of content. You can, if you're getting like super crazy and you want to embed videos and things like that, then that's where you can do that as well. I use pages because it makes content very accessible to my kids instead of links. And I'm going to show you that when we get to the pages. Discussions mean that you can have threaded discussions where your kids can respond to each other. Remember, they have to be in the course in order to be a part of that discussion. So that's a useful feature. You can set that up as well. Text headers are absolutely no functionality except for organization, which is an important functionality. And we're going to talk about that when we get in, and we're going to start with text headers actually. External URLs means that if you have links that you want to send your kids to, then you can send them to those external URLs and they can access them, because remember, to be on Canvas, they're going to be on the internet. And then external tools means that, and we're going to end the session with that today. External tools means I'm going to add content in, and that's going to provide, that's going to link to things like Nearpod that I already have created as well. So that's what I've got set up there. But we're actually going to start with text header, even though I said that it was, worthless and won't help you. It's going to help you organize your content. Now, there's no functionality in it. It just looks better in your module. So I'm going to start with a text header, and I'm going to call this grammar and add the item. And of course, I added it to the wrong module. Now, grammar is a component of ELA. So I'm going to drag my grammar little text header down there. And you can see this doesn't have, there's no link here. It doesn't link to a resource. There's no pages. But now if I come into ELA resources and I want to, let's say I'm going to say comprehension now. And I want to add in resources in that fashion. It looked like I misspelled it. Now I can kind of drag and drop my different resources I'm going to add within those sort of subheadings. So usually when we're talking about organization, then I usually point out the text headers first. Now, if I was creating this course for my students, I'm going to have this unpublished right now because I don't want them to see all the work that I'm doing right now. That's not going to take away any functionality. But I can always remember the last thing I'm usually going to do, and it doesn't have to be a finished course. It has to be, okay, I'm ready for my kids to see it, but I'm going to continue to add content in here, right? So as soon as I hit publish, I'm in there, or I'm going to work at night when they're probably playing Fortnite or Rocket League or whatever. Okay, so now I've got my module. I'm going to add content in. I'm going to add content into my ELA resources page. So I'm going to go here, click add. Now I'm going to start with a page because I want my kids to read content or have access to content. And then I'm going to add an assignment right after it, right? So I'm going to start with a page, and a page is exactly that. It's just a blank web page. So I'm going to call this, let's say, and this is going to be all over the place with subjects and things like that. So I'm going to call this seasons. This page is called seasons. Oops. So I'm going to add the item. Now, there's nothing in this right now. If I were to go in here, I'm going to publish this so I don't forget later. If I go into this page, there's nothing in there. I haven't put any content in there. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to open up a new tab and just Google, literally Google seasons. Maybe find something that's appropriate for their Lexile level. So I'm going to come in here. And this seems pretty complicated, but we're going to go ahead and go with it. So I'm literally just going to copy content. I'll cite it and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just going to copy this content in. And maybe I can go in and kind of change this content around because there's some really complex language in here. I'm going to copy. Cool. I'm going to come back to my page here and hit edit. And then I just have like a normal text processor here. So I can paste this in. I might need to go through and I like that. that works. That's a little bit maybe complicated, but it's good content for them. Now these links are all in there as well. I've got some things like videos, so I might want to clean this up. I can do that. Now I might do, because I want to practice good digital citizenship, I can say something like this, curated from. Now I don't need them to go to that link though, because I brought in the content. And the reason I brought this content in instead of just linking, because you might be saying like, well, you just said I could add an external URL. Why are you going through all this work? Is because I can go in and edit any of this stuff as well. Even adding in this to say, hey guys, read this first. All right, so I've got that set up. Now I've got just pure content. And now this is what my kids would see. So I'm gonna go, even though this is under pages and it says they can't see it, remember I added it to the module. So, and it's published. If I switch over to student view, the reason I add that content in that way, so let's say my kids go through all this content, they end up on this reading comprehension seasons page, right? They have this, but maybe I need a little bit of help. In the upper right here, I have a button called Immersive Reader. Now I'm going to click that, and this is a student-specific tool. You have access to it as well on your side. But if I click Immersive Reader, then it's going to automatically bring up whatever I used last time. If I want it read to me.
Seasons. Hey guys, read this first. The passing of a year can bring a marked change in the weather and the surrounding environment. The 4 seasons, winter, characteristics, and can prompt changes in the world around them. Let's take an overview of these 4 separate periods.
So I can have that read to me, and I didn't have to do any programming or coding or anything like that. I literally clicked the button. So because it's in text, it's going to convert over, show the parts of speech. I'm going to show you how you can change that as well, but it's going to remember what I did last time. If I wanted to change, you probably saw me do it because it was set up to read a little bit too fast. It's going to remember the last time I used Immersive Reader. So that's actually a good thing for your kids as well. I can change it to a male voice if I want a male voice. I like the female voice better because it's a little, sounds a little less robotic as well. But then up in the upper right, I have text preferences, grammar options, and reading preferences. So we'll start with text preferences. Let's say I want to make it even bigger. I can do that. Or say I'm broadcasting or doing like a team meeting or something like that. Then it's easier for you guys to see. Like, well, right now, right? We're in a Zoom meeting. So I can make it bigger. I can change the font if I want. I can do overlays, which I see sometimes when kids are using this, they just like this as an overlay, which is kind of weird for me with the purple on there, but that's fine. But if they just like it having an overlay, or if they need it, if they have a topic or something like that, then they have an overlay of that content because I made it accessible just by copying in that document. And obviously here, I literally typed this in. You guys watch me type that in. So those are text preferences. They can change those themselves as well. By default, it has an increased spacing on, which I think I love because that is very much easier to read if it's got a little bit of a space. If we go to grammar options, I don't have syllables chosen, but it's going to break it down into syllables if I need to. And then I also highlighted, let me change this view there. I can highlight the parts of speech or deselect the parts of speech or not label them as well. So even if I just want to, let's say I want my kid, we're going to do like a grammar lesson and I want my kids to know parts of speech, I can change the colors here if I want to as well. So if I said, okay, guys, what are all the yellow words? Who knows what part of speech those are? So we can use that if we're using that, or if we have that set up, if we're using that as a direct lesson, or your kids can kind of change that around if they choose to do that or choose to have them highlighted in that way, right? On the right-hand side, I have line focus, which allows me to bring it down. It'll still read. Let me move this to the top, actually. It'll still read the content.
First, the passing of a year.
So I've got that option. And then I can make it a little bit bigger if I want, or turn line focus off. I have a picture dictionary set up. I'll show you what that looks like as well. And then I can also just translate the entire document into Spanish or any of the languages that your students might need. So Greek, Filipino, Fijian, Estonian. I don't know what it translates when you go to Ireland. But you can change it to Spanish, and then you can see that your kids can go back and have it translated back and forth, and even have it read to them as well.
Estaciones. Hey, chicos,
So it's up here. Sorry, I wasn't following
leen
along.
esto primero.
So there you go. I can switch back and forth. And then picture dictionary, if I click on certain words, it's going to give them a picture dictionary, a graphical representation that doesn't really need them to even read the content. If they don't know that word, if they're like, I don't know what this word is even, they can have it read to them.
year,
And then it'll give them a little bit of a hint to what that is too. So it's not on every word, but it gives them sort of a representation. You can see this is multiple meaning, giving change, changing, or a change in the weather. So you can kind of see the differences there. Again, that's just accessed by the kids by clicking the immersive reader. So one of the options that I usually use, I'm going to leave student view real quick, because maybe my kids don't know about that, and they should know about that. So I'm going to come back in here. And one of the cool features about Canvas when you're in the actual course here is this option right here. So I'm going to take out this little section, and instead, if I click this, it's going to say, let's upload or record media. And so if I choose to upload or record media, I can upload my own content from a computer or YouTube or something like that. But I'm just going to give a real quick recording. It'll turn on my webcam here. So, hey, there I am. I have a beard now and a shaved head if you haven't seen me in a while. Done. Hey guys, go ahead and read this reading on seasons. And if you don't know, you're going to want to use the immersive reader up in that corner. I can finish that, and then it's going to add that content or that video to that lesson. It's going to add it right here, and then what'll show up for my kids after it loads is a little video of me giving them a prompt. And so if we go out of here, if I was reading a book to them, I could use that as well. It's pretty easy. But now they have that ability to play a little video here. Go ahead and read this reading on seasons. And if you don't know, you're going to want to use the immersive reader up in that corner, right? So they'll see, that's where they'll see it. We don't need to hear that again. All right. So that's how pages work. Really easy to add content or links or things that they can access later. That's just a way that you can really provide content to your students and make it accessible at the same time, which is important as well. Crucial, actually. And so we're going to continue on with the different content types. That was pages. So you can add any content or just pull content from the web, and then clean up the ads or anything else that might be on there as well. As long as you cite it, then you're covered with copyright under the educational fair use. All right. So let's talk about, I want my kids to turn something into me. So I'm going to create an assignment and call this, let's say I want them to type a summary of the seasons page that we created, right? So we're going to come into the assignment by clicking the name of it and go to edit. And I can give them a little guidance. I also, if I wanted to, give them a little recording. So I can say, I can make a little, even for my youngest kids, I could just make a recording really quick that says, hey guys, create a summary, use this content, I'll give you that too, or whatever. So I can do a couple things here. One, I can attach a file that maybe I want them to use. So if I were to click here, it's gonna give me the ability to upload a document. So when I do that, it's gonna look on my computer and I can upload it there. I can link it to a document. So if I have another link, then I can add a link here to a document. But also, because Canvas works within Office 365, and remembering that I'm logged in through Office 365, actually, if I click this plug over here, if you don't see the plug on your account, you probably need to click the little 3 dots to expand this a bit. But when I click that plug, it's going to give me the option to just open up my Office 365. So now my OneDrive is going to open up, and I'll be able to provide them. Let's say that I have a template. I have no idea what this is, so I'll just click this. But let's say I wanted, and that's an Excel doc, so that's a bad example. But I want them to, I have no idea what this is for sure. If I want to attach that document for them, then they'll have that ability to download that document and then save their own copy as well. So I could do a couple things here. One, I could provide a collaborative document that they can all work on together, or because they'll be all logged in here as well automatically. Or I can just create a link within Office 365, paste that, and then that would be a template for them to start with as well. So I'm going to start with that document. I always want to give them a little bit of instruction because I don't know, I've been teaching for more than 4 seconds, I guess. Hey guys, or hey everyone, download this document and submit by clicking. Yeah, that'll make sense in a second. So they have the document. Maybe I want to give them a video. You guys know how to do that now. This is where I could say how many points it's worth. Remember that within using this for COVID-19 outreach, we're only using it to improve grades, so we can't negatively impact their grades. I'm gonna say this is worth 10 points, just so you can see how that checks out. The submission type is the most important feature that you're gonna use here. That's where you're gonna say, okay, it's an assignment, right? So I can, forget that we're in we're in COVID-19 land for a second, and I'm in the classroom and I want my kids to just hand in a paper, right? I'm gonna choose no submission, but I'm still gonna put it in here because I wanna add grades here or feedback that maybe they can access later. That's where I'm gonna choose no submission. If I want them to submit it on paper, I can choose the same exact thing. That means that they're gonna submit it to me personally, which they're not gonna do right now. I'm gonna choose online, and then it's gonna give me more options. So text entry means that they're gonna type in words into a text box, right? That's gonna be different than the example I used up here, because I want them to submit the actual Word document. They can submit a website URL. So let's say they wanted to share a link to their document, then they can do that as well, but I don't want them to do that either because I wanna see the actual document they submit. I could have them upload their own media recording. And by the way, they can do multiple of these, their own media recording. So let's say I just wanted them to give a summary of an assignment. I didn't need them to download or upload a written paper or anything like that. I just want them to hit record and then record themselves talking about it. I'm gonna leave all of these checked so you can see the difference. Or I want them to upload a file. Now I can also restrict the upload file type. So if I told them to upload it as a PowerPoint, I can type in the extensions that I'd allow there. So .ppx would be PowerPoint, or .pptx for the newer versions. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want them to get more confused than they need to be. If I was concerned about plagiarism, I can make it automatically check turn it in for plagiarism. I'm not too worried about this because this is probably like a first grade or second grade lesson, but I can turn that on automatically. That doesn't negatively affect the grades, but it does give you information if it's original work or not automatically. So in your grade book, it'll just show you the percentage of quote unquote plagiarized from sources content. So you just choose turn it in, and that's all you do. You don't have to do anything else. It just shows up as a little flag, and the kids get a report that says that it was flagged for plagiarism or whatnot. All right. Again, doesn't negatively affect the grade because there's no way to determine that. When I add in a due date of an assignment, it's going to add it to the student's to-do list. So I'll tell you what that means. After I set it up so they can submit it all sorts of different ways, I'm gonna go back to student view really quick because now I have some content in there, and it's gonna show that I have all of this information showing up. And then for the students themselves, especially if they're in multiple classes, they always have a to-do list of any assignments that they have scheduled coming up, right? So if they say, oh, I don't know what to do, then they usually refer the kids, well, there's a good starting point. If they don't have anything on their to-do list, it means they have no assignments that are scheduled with a due date or no quizzes that are scheduled with a due date. And I can also add, let me leave student view for a second here. I can also add pages to a to-do list, even if I go back to my page for seasons here and edit it, then I can also add this to their to-do list. and then give them a date to, let's say, read it by. That doesn't mean that it's going to take that access away after that date, but some of our kids need that sort of structure, right? And so now if I come over to my student view, because I just created the add to my to-do list, now they have this to-do list in the order that it's actually going to be done. What's really great for the students is that if they're in, I can't go here because I'm in an actual session. But if they were on their dashboard, it's going to be a to-do list for all of their classes. So let's say I'm in a class with Mr. Wiseman. Any of the classes that he has to-do lists are going to show up there. Any of the classes that I might have, let's say I'm teaching math, which that sucks for the kids, then those due dates are going to show up as well. So that's a useful feature. If they go into the actual course, then it's going to show up here. Now for me, now I'm back in teacher view. The only thing I have coming up is the summary of seasons. I don't need to know that they need to read the reading by then. Really what my role is going to be is eventually when these kids submit the work, I'm going to have to go in there and grade it, right? All right. So I'm going to go back to student view, and now I'm going to click that individual assignment, and I have all of my stuff that I need right here. If I were to click this, it's going to try to open up Office 365, but guess what? There's no such thing as a test.student@lusd.k12.ca.us, which is how I'm logged in right now as this sample student. If your students are logged in with Canvas, which they would have to be to see this, it's automatically going to open up Office 365 because they're already authenticated, right? Remember how I said clicking submit in the upper right? Sometimes our students are looking for that on the bottom for some reason, so I usually just make that component. If I click submit, then everything that I allowed them to submit is going to show up here. So they can submit a file just by choosing whatever file they've got. They can add a text entry box. This is my assignment. They can go to a website URL and just copy and paste that in. They all have the ability, even after they upload a file or text entry or a website, to add little comments. So they can put stuff like this. This was fun. This was fun. So they can leave you little comments that go back into your gradebook that you'll be able to see. Other students won't be able to see them. That's just communication between you and the student. I also allowed them to upload media. So I can record or upload media. I can upload it by selecting files or creating it. But then your students, remember I'm in as a student right now, they can upload media like this, or they can just turn their webcam off and give you a response this way as well. So it'll be just an audio response. Hey, I just wanted to say that lesson on seasons was great. Not a very good assignment, right? Because I told them to create a summary, not just a judgment call on the article that I shared with them. They can send that as well. They also have their Office 365 linked here as well. So if they created, of course, remember I'm in as a test student, so it's not going to allow me, but your students would automatically log into this window, whatever they have saved within their OneDrive since they're linked. So they would just basically click their content, upload that in, and then you would see that. So I think I uploaded a media clip that works. As soon as I hit submit assignment, that's off of their to-do list now because they did the assignment, right? They still have their seasons. They can come in here, and if they read it, then that's awesome. That means that they read the work. They should have done that before they did a summary on it, of course. But then that's how they get to not having anything to do. So they can exit out of that as well. All right. So I'm going to leave student view, and now we'll see what that looks like after they submit. You can tell now I have something to do, and I have the Canvas teacher app on my phone too, so I just got a notification that someone's turned in work. Now as the teacher, I have something to do. It's going to show up. If I click here directly, it's going to take me automatically to that submission. So it doesn't look like I have anything right here, but remember I uploaded the audio recording. Hey, I just wanted to say that lesson on seasons was great. All right, I'm going to give them a 0 out of 10 and say, what? Right? Maybe I want to give them a file. I can upload that file right here. I can also give them a audio feedback, or not audio feedback, sorry. I do that on the second button, but I can also give my comments this way as well. Test, I think is his name, right? Hey, test student, comma, you really need to go back and read the assignment and provide a summary of the article, not just saying that it was neat. Thanks. All right. So that's going to give me that feedback, and I can go back and change this as well if I need to, and maybe use proper grammar. But I can also just upload media comment right here too. So. Hey, test student, you need to read the instructions, man. You gotta read the summary or read the article and then provide your own written summary with what I uploaded to you. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye. So I can just save that, and then on their end, we can have that back and forth, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So as I save that content for him, then it's gonna go for I'm genderizing test student for some reason. But yeah, he's gonna be back into, he'll get that video response and have that content back and forth. You're gonna see that I don't have any, I've got a summary of season still coming up because I might have more, that due date is coming up on my calendar. And then all of this content that I'm creating, because I put it on their to-do list, shows up a couple of different places. For one, it shows up on the course calendar. So for the Rockstar course, I'm gonna have a calendar that gets created automatically when I'm putting to-do lists or things on their to-do list. If I needed to change this around, I can also just change the due date like this too. So I'm dragging and dropping. That saves you a lot of time knowing that you can just move those around. That's gonna update on their to-do list as well automatically. And you can also just go back to your today view if you'd like. That's one way they can do it. And then also on the syllabus, even though I didn't type anything into my syllabus, which I could do right here, this is me, whatever, that's my syllabus, updated. But it's gonna automatically add that course summary. And then these are live links too. If the kid needs to do this assignment on the 10th, they're just gonna click it in that linear fashion. I think that the to-do list is probably a little bit more helpful because it just shows up right here for them. But they have it in a couple different places. So Canvas does a good job of organizing it, even if it's not really organized in your behalf. All right, so the last type of content that we're gonna look at, or last couple types of content, are external URLs. These are just links. So let's say that I wanted to send them to this link for whatever reason. I can paste that link in and call that seasons. If I wanna load it in a new tab, that means it's gonna open up a new tab like it has up here at the top, or I could have it done directly in Canvas. A word of caution when you're not having it load in a new tab is once in a while the link won't work, so you'll have to check that as a student, and then all you do to fix that is have it load in a new tab and it'll work. So what that means though is this would keep them within Canvas. It wouldn't open any other content. Usually after I show how you can pull that content from those web pages though, it's not gonna make it accessible because you see if the kid goes here, there's no immersive reader functionality or anything anywhere to be found. So makes it, and there's a bunch of ads and it's super distracting and things like that. There's pop-ups everywhere. Trying to sell them tops for some reason, then they can do that as well. All right, so I just added that link. What that'll look like for the students again is they click the link, it opens up a new tab, right? The difference in this example, let me leave student view for a second. Go back here. If I were to go back and edit it and it works, because I want to test my links all the time for my kids, so I know I'm not going to have it load in. The difference is that if I log in as a student now, they click it, then it's showing up within Canvas. So I didn't go to a different website. I can still scroll. I don't have my immersive reader functionality though as well. It doesn't show up anymore. So that's how external links work. But now I'm going to get all these pop-ups and things like that because I'm just basically re-navigating to the site, and it doesn't leave all the it doesn't take all the ads off and things like that too. So that's going to be problematic. All right, so I'm going to delete that. So let's say I have an assignment I need to get rid of. I can go ahead and just remove that. Change the order. That's not going to change due dates. You can do that on the calendar though, and move things around. I'm trying to think of the last bit of content. the most valuable piece, I think, to teachers is the fact that they can pull content from external sources. So if I go to add content to my module, pick the plus button and I choose external tool, you're gonna have a whole bunch of things that pop up. Now, you didn't do anything to add these, and that's fine, but if you know that Nearpod's a thing, that you have an account, that you have things in your library, that's all you need to know about this. I could also add my Office 365 documents here, some Plato courseware. I can add in Canvas Studio, which is another training that we do on Wednesdays. But for this purpose, I want to add a Nearpod. So I created a Nearpod on my account already. Like this is, we're pretending that we did this on the side. I maybe added content from a Nearpod, the Nearpod license library, edited around, put like a video introduction of myself, whatever. But now I want my kids to see that Nearpod. So I'm going to choose external tool, add the Nearpod. And then these are all this is all the stuff that I have within my Nearpod lesson. Now, when I'm regular old, LUSD teacher and we're not on lockdown and, things like that, I might use live lesson because I want to see what my kids are doing at the same time. We're sort of living in an educational reality right now where the odds of students doing everything at the same time are definitely reduced. So I'm going to choose student paste, hit add item. And now from the student view, we're on a producer consumer. If the kids click that content, it's going to launch that Nearpod lesson in Canvas. So it's going to give me my little hello test student, because remember I'm in as test student. And then I'm just navigating through the content. If I go to my Nearpod library, if I go to my Nearpod reports, then all of my grades will show up in there as well. So I can get all this content, go through and read it. Eventually there's going to be something that I interact with on here. Okay, so now I'm trying to I don't know what barter, help people. They can hit done. It's gonna self-correct for them. So maybe I want to try again. I probably put barter in the wrong place, and so I can move those options around. And then if I needed to get access to those reports, then I'm going to find that within Nearpod. If I wanted to grade those in the actual course, then I'd have to make that an assignment and use external tool as well. So I'll do that really quickly so you can compare it. I'm going to create, this is called a Nearpod. I forget what it's even on, producers and consumers. There's a lot of content already in Nearpod, and remember, you still have access to edit that as well. So if you add it, if you find something that's pretty close, but you want to add a little bit more, then you can save that to your library and then add that content in. So now if I go to edit this assignment, I can give them direction. Hey guys, do this, blah, 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 right? But then now if I choose submission type, I skipped external tool before for a reason, because I knew we'd come back to it. If I choose external tool here, this is under creating an assignment. If I choose external tool and I click find, then I can find my Nearpods in here as well. So the difference is that if I add it through an assignment, then I don't have to go to Nearpod again to get those results. Of course, I can still give it a due date and things like that. I don't have to give it those results. My results here are going to show, I'm going to get a report with what the kids did on that Nearpod assignment as well. So here's my Nearpod producers and consumers. You can see the test student hasn't done anything with it yet because I just clicked it like 2 seconds ago. So, but if I go back here into the course, let me switch over to student view real quick so you can see that. The difference is going to be, I click in here. This little pop-up, by the way, means that he has feedback. So if you remember, I gave him that video feedback, then that's why it shows up there. They're going to go through, boop, 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 boop. I want to go back to that. Add the groups of dinosaurs together. Pretty confident in this one. If I needed that help, I can have that read to me as well.
Working with a partner, add the groups of dinosaurs together. Write your answer and then color the dinosaurs.
All right. Again, go to immersive. This is gonna be tough, man. I don't know how, but but I want an orange triceratops. You guys get the picture. All right, so I can color them. I can go from there. I'm gonna submit, and then let's say I just skip out of this, right? Let me leave student view. What the teacher is going to get in their grades is now that a student's gone in there, we can go into SpeedGrader, and what we'll see is a report based on their interactions, right? So they kind of stunk it up on the quiz, because you guys saw I didn't even do the quiz. I only participated in 14% of the lesson. The only thing I really did is I did this one question, which I could zoom in on if I needed to. But I got that right at least. I know 4 + 6, but I didn't do my response. Now all the content and feedback that I want to give them, they can get back or sent back as well. And then that's going to show up too. So, but yep, that's how you kind of walk through that setup. I've got my grades here. If I wanted to give them a grade, that would have showed up there. But that's pretty much it. Let's say, and this will be where we end, and then I'm going to leave a whole bunch of questions or time for questions for you guys. But let's say that I want to get content from somewhere else. One of the things you're going to want to be aware of as a teacher is this Commons feature. And so Commons is a collection of resources that teachers around the world actually have curated and added here, that you can add into your own courses really easily. So I got to Commons by choosing Commons. Let's say that I'm working on, let's see, I don't know what we'll get, but phonemic awareness. If I could spell, that would be right. That would be awesome. So I've got phonemic awareness phonemic awareness content in here. I'm gonna go ahead and check out this module, and I want to check it out though. I don't want to just make it so it looks differently. So I've got looks like this teacher's added some MP4s. Let's say that I think this is awesome, and I'm like, you know what, this is dope. I want to use this in my class. I'm gonna hit the import download, and then all I have to do is find my course, hit import. Now, I can still edit this course. It's not going to be, the kids won't see it until I publish it and things like that, or make sure it's published. But now if I go back to my course, my Rockstar course, for example, then you're going to start seeing it. It's going to say that it's still coming in. If I just hit refresh here a couple times, you're going to see that content automatically gets added to the bottom. So it's still pulling over. Usually it takes like maybe 3 or 4 minutes. So I'm kind of rushing it, I guess. But that content's going to show up, and then it just appears as normal content. You can still come into it and edit it, change it, move it around. All of that stuff will show up. You can even find full courses in there. So some teachers have gone in and found entire courses on math or something like that, because in some cases, maybe that teacher did a fantastic job of teaching polynomials. You want to add your own flavor to it. That's what teachers do no matter what, right? So like if you get a textbook, I never felt relieved that I had a textbook, because then I knew the kids would learn, because I knew I still have to teach it, right? It's just a framework. So just like print curriculum, you can still put your own spin on it, and content in it, or just change it. There might be sometimes I've looked in and pulled modules where one of the pages was even wrong. So it still pays to go through there and sort of vet that content like you would any curriculum, really. So that's that. I'm gonna stick on the line in case you guys have other questions or other little concerns. I do have, just to give you a heads up, I've got a training at 10:30. 10:30 for Teams. So if you have any questions, you can get those out now. I am going to have to shift over to Teams in a bit, though, because we're doing a training on Teams and how to have safe meetings with them. So I'll just be here hanging out for the next couple minutes. Let me know if you need any questions. If you go and get stuck on something at a later date, go ahead and reach out through email. We have a whole bunch of these sessions going on. There's another one of this exact session today at 1. So if you want to go play around with it and be like, all right, man, like I know there is a way to do it, but I don't know how to do it. You can just pop on, and you know, it doesn't matter if you leave early or anything like that, because we're all just trying to help you guys out as much as we can. So let me know how I can.
I was wondering if we can look on the things the kids are doing now and how to see what they've been doing.
Yeah, you're talking about the district enrichment classes?
Yes.
Good deal. So you can see that what you'll really get is you're gonna see that they've been logged on, or if they've been logged on, or how long they've been logged on. But we set up the enrichment courses as pure enrichment. So there's not a lot of feedback and grading going back and forth at all. In some cases, teachers have added quizzes, but really it's just a collection of resources. So all you're really gonna do is verify that they've either been on the website, or they've been on for, like you can see, I've been in the class for 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 53 seconds. So we didn't really set it up to be a graded course. So that's one of the things to just so we can be clear, is that we didn't set it up as an online curriculum. We set it up as a resource guide, because the kids will have access to it for, you know, the next couple years. If they need to go in there and they find it useful, or they want to use it during summer, then they can use it as well too. David, excellent question about how they log in. There is a resource there. It kind of walks them through on the actual site itself. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. If they're self-enrolling in a course, that's different than if they were enrolling the normal way through Canvas. If they go to enrichment resources, they've got it literally in 4 different ways. So the first thing they do is, this is how you log in. It's their 6-digit LUSD student number at lusd.k12.ca.us, and your password, which is your 8-digit birthday. There's an animated GIF right here on the side that shows how they can do it. And then there's also another whole page that walks them through a little bit more even, basically. If you publish your course, then it shows up automatically if they log in through Canvas or whenever they're ready. Deanna, that's a great question. I have files of work on my laptop. If you were to navigate to the files part of any course, then you can upload those here. So if you see, oops, I gotta move some windows around. I have a upload feature right here. And if I wanted to upload, I have all of these are actually from System 44. Let's say I wanna upload all of this content. Beep, boop, boop, beep, beep, boop, boop. Then it just goes through and adds that content right there. If I wanted to add them to a module, then I can, oops, it's in the middle of something, so maybe I shouldn't have uploaded all 90 of them. You're gonna have access to those files when you go to attach them. So if you wanna really quick upload a whole mess of files in one place, you're attaching them to the course, and then after this whole thing is done, then I'll show you how you can attach those within the module. If the department wants to share handouts and files, share handouts and files to the entire district, yes, you could do it that way. You could, if you just publish the Commons, you can share your course, or you can share your individual module by clicking the 3 dots. We're almost there, so really want to show how to add those files. So now I added all this independent reading material here. If I go back to my course, that's just a real quick way that you can upload a whole bunch of content. If I wanted to add, let's say I wanted to add a file, then I can add the files, and then all of that stuff I just uploaded is gonna be here. So I could add that content like this, and now that's gonna show up automatically. If I wanted to add it to a page, so I'm on the seasons page here. If I wanted to add it to a page, then I can upload a course. It's gonna be called a course document now. And then all of my files will show up here as well. So I can add that a couple different ways.
So Ryan, do you have to upload all those files into Canvas, or can you leave them on your desktop?
Yeah, you can leave them on your desktop. I was just, she said she had a bunch of files on there. So if you wanted to just do it file by file, you literally can come in here if you go to file and then find where you're going to upload it from. So if I hit new file, then it's going to let me upload that file directly.
Yeah, I was trying to do that and I couldn't locate it on my desktop. I didn't know how to navigate it.
So if the easier way might be to go to files and then just hit upload, and then you're
Like
gonna change
all of my files.
Nah, just whatever you want, man. Just use the
Oh,
control
just one
button.
thing.
Yeah, because you might have like 4 or 5 different ones too.
yeah. Like I was trying to make an assignment that I would typically make, like a title page assignment for a notebook.
Yeah.
And I already have it done in my own desktop. I don't put it on 365 because I don't like it's just that it takes too many steps for me. So I just leave it on my desktop. I was just trying to take that file that I've already created and load it into the assignment I was creating in Canvas, and I couldn't figure out how to navigate to that to my desktop file.
So let's do that together. So I'm gonna go into the seasons page here
Okay.
and go to edit.
Okay.
And then the button you're looking for is this sucker right here.
Okay.
So then when I click that, I've got upload document. Oops.
Okay.
And then if you have your desktop behind you, you can just drag that sucker in.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I don't, is there like a menu that I can go through?
Once you do it, it'll bring up the menu. But if you have, if you can see the document on your desktop, what I would do is, no joke, like this is crazy, but like I'm just gonna drag, I don't even know what this is, but I'm gonna drag this thing in to this apparently really useful picture of new meeting or something. And then now that file is added. So it's gonna be a link to that file. And that was a picture, so that's a bad example. But if I have like a Word doc or something, I can just add that way as well.
Okay. So this might be a question for another training, but how do I add content from the online version of the textbook? Like if I wanted to give an assignment or whatever it is that's already done there, it's already packaged there, everything. If I wanted to add it into Canvas, would I do that under external tools?
If there is an integration, so it depends. Which content are you looking at?
McGraw-Hill.
McGraw-Hill right now doesn't have that integration. They're working on it, but what we basically got from the rep Ethel was that we have the newest adoption. So once they get that on board, though, we have 2 new stuff. Right? How often do you hear that?
I've heard that from them.
But once they have that integration, then you would add. It's actually going to be super easy because you just go add external tool. You would have McGraw-Hill content. So Pearson is in here. So if I added that content right here, then I would be able to add that little McGraw-Hill content in. So that's actually a pretty cool feature. Yeah.
So just for now, I would have to have 2 full platforms then, if I was going to use the online version of McGraw-Hill until they get it worked out.
Yeah, what I might recommend is if let's say you do a really awesome job of like explaining how to access the content, and that's this page, right? You do a video of yourself, you tell them how to log in the right way.
Right.
One of the things that you might do is come in here and just duplicate that.
Yeah.
And then now I'm going to come in and say, and then just edit and say, now do chapter 4 or whatever, right? And so and then because the important thing there is that if I come in here and I add a page to their to-do list, right?
Right.
And I'm sort of providing that guidance so they can stay on track and go in that sort of sequential order too. So,
The same way you would use Adelio, like just a list of things to do. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And remember that does it automatically in the syllabus anyway. So all of this content is brought up because I uploaded all that stuff in it. So.
Man, there's so many like loose ends. I'm like, my head's kind of spinning, but I'll keep going.
So if you guys need any additional support, because I got to get going to my next meeting, check Sked because we do teacher help desk setups as well. So I have one today. I think I have one today. Let me double check real quick.